This is KM Wyland, and you are listening to the 629th episode of the Helping Writers Become Authors podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, The Daily Routine of a Full-Time Writer. So what does the daily routine of a full-time writer look like? I'm going to say the norm is probably somewhere in between crazy busy and lots of staring into space. What should the daily routine of a full-time writer look like? No one can say, but I can tell you what mine looks like. When I asked you last year what you'd like me to write about this year, I received a surprising number of requests for a day in the life post. James Richards wrote, "Give us a peek into your day and show us what a day of writing looks like for you. Your work habits, your goals per day, etc. Let us see how you format your workday." So come along with me today as I show you what my routine looks like on an average day. But first, a few notes on high quality habits. So daily routines are actually one of my favorite topics. In fact, I'm a bit of a routine nut. Mostly this is because my INTJ brain goes a little nuts, literally, without structure and stability and predictable patterns, but also because I truly believe in the power of high-quality habits. I have seen their rewards in my own life, not just in the short term, but as years of good habits have paid off in all areas of my life. Here's a quote that I picked up somewhere from Will Durant. "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." My goal is to make sure every moment in my day, everything I do, every to-do on the checklist is as absolutely high quality as possible. I'm always tweaking to try to maximize my time and energy to allow me to pack in only the best stuff. If something is low quality with poor returns, I figure out a way to eliminate it or replace it. I live my life like I imagine a pro athlete eats their meals. Every calorie and nutrient optimally has a purpose. One good habit that takes even just 5 minutes, done every day, offers huge returns down the line. Now, that said, I also have to be careful. Once I get a habit started, I am super consistent, which means it had better be the right habit. For instance, if I'm consistently doing the wrong exercise every day, or doing it wrong, I'm going to be doing myself more harm than if I was only sporadically remembering to do the right exercise. So it's valuable to consider your daily habits and rate how high quality you think each one is. For example, how healthy is your regular breakfast? And then you can look for ways to leverage little moments throughout your day. After all, as the flies say in A Bug's Life, I only get 24 hours to live, and I'm not going to waste it here. All right, so first of all, it goes without saying that I'm extremely privileged to be able to manage my days how I want. I work for myself from home, and I don't have kids, dependents, or many outside demands on my time. And this allows me a lot of flexibility in tweaking and adjusting my schedule. For instance, I used to write in the late afternoons, but as my 30s have ticked on, I find my brain is just too fried and exhausted to be sensible by then. So I've switched my fiction writing to the morning. What's best for any one writer will always depend on their own energetic preferences as well as outside demands upon them, including work and family. So here is my morning routine, starting with breakfast. I like to be out of bed by 6 and get my eyes on the sun as soon as possible. I putter around for a bit, oil pull for my teeth and gums, do skincare, brush my teeth. Breakfast starts with a warm glass of lemon water, which I drink while standing in the sun. I follow that up with 2 baked eggs, which are farm fresh right now, thanks to the generous neighbors. I wake up hangry, and I do not have the patience to stand over the stove, so while I'm waiting for the eggs to cook in the oven, I'll eat an apple. And I end with some sort of carb. Right now I'm using a grain-free blueberry muffin mix from Bob Red Mill. Next up is what I have come to consider the most important part of my day. I take 2 full hours at least 5 days a week to focus on prayer, various meditation, visualization, energy practices, yoga, or what I call yoga. It's really just light stretching, and working out. I've struggled with chronic muscle pain in my neck and back for many years, but I'm managing it pretty well now, thanks in part to my diet. I cut out all sugar, grain, nightshades, and dairy for 5 months over the winter and saw huge changes in my pain levels. And in part to the workout routine that I feel is finally paying off. I alternate core, arm, and leg workouts by day. And next is probably my favorite part of the day. After working out, I take half an hour to sit on my infrared heating pad and read whatever nonfiction books are grabbing my fancy at the moment. I'm always hungry again by this point, so I eat a nut butter protein bar. I really like the lemon almond bars from Laird's right now, since they do a pretty good job of balancing carbs and protein. And then comes walking. And actually, this is also my favorite part. I could walk for hours, but alas, I usually only have time for about 30 minutes. I'm fortunate to be able to walk outside in nature, and the trees and the grass are glorious right now. So green it almost makes my eyes hurt, which is a change from the usual drought, although apparently we're still in a drought. I use my walk as my time to talk to myself and clear my brain. I sort through ideas I may have encountered while reading, dig through anything that's bugging me, and work through patterns and theories that I'm playing with. And then is the writing time of the writer's daily routine. After showering and dressing after my walk, I settle in for an hour with my fiction work in progress. Right now, I'm in the process of outlining a new fantasy novel, tentatively called Wild Blood, a Celtic-inspired tale about a dying princess and an immortal protector. I prefer to outline longhand in a notebook away from my computer. And since I currently have an extra desk set up in my bedroom, I'm using that exclusively for my fiction writing. I like having the psychological cue that this is writing space and not check your email and do business stuff space. I generally light a candle to set the container and play music I've downloaded onto my phone. I'm not much of a phone user, so I'm not usually too tempted by keeping it at my elbow, but I always put it on airplane mode, both because I always do that to mitigate EMF exposure where I can, and to keep from being distracted by notifications. Right now, as I'm outlining, my routine is pretty simple. I will glance over my notes from the day before and then dive in. I'm pretty loosey-goosey in the outlining stage and don't put much pressure on myself to be perfect or to always write on topic. I ramble a lot, veering away from the story sometimes to discuss thematic theories or even writing techniques with myself. Now, I have, of course, written about my outlining process extensively elsewhere, including in my book, Outlining Your Novel, and its accompanying Outlining Your Novel workbook. Basically, I look at outlining as brainstorming. So my outlines are a conversation with myself on the page. I ask myself questions and follow wherever my curiosity may lead, using my sense of the story's structure to always come back to whatever blanks might still need filling in. And if you're interested in reading a full transcript of the outline that I used when writing my diesel punk novel Storming, you can access that by joining my mailing list. So at the end of the hour, I will then glance over the day's notes and highlight those that I want to keep for later. Every few months, I will stop and transcribe the highlighted notes into my Scrivener outline for easy reference. After lunch, I will generally take another quick walk outside to check the mail, and then I'll head to my computer desk to get to work. I like to start out working on that week's blog post and podcast episode. So one day I may use this time to write the post, the next I will edit it, then record the podcast, then edit the podcast, etc. I will also use this time, before my brain fries out too bad, to work on social media posts. And if I have time here, I may also work on whatever other projects need my attention. Sometimes this might be a new project underway, but more and more it's maintenance or upkeep on existing material that I published, whether on my now gigantic site, Helping Writers Become Authors, or in my books. So by 3 p.m., my head usually feels like it's ready to fall off, so I take a 30-minute coffee break. Right now, I am obsessed with the British baking show, even though I don't bake. And I have been watching it and its spin-offs pretty much nonstop for over a year now. At the moment, I am extra in love with the Junior Bake Off. I usually split the episodes in half, both to make them less longer and to make sure I'm back to finish work in a reasonable amount of time. And let me just say that for someone of my personality who tends toward workaholism, making myself take this break in the middle of the afternoon has been a game changer. It totally recharges my energy, both physically and emotionally, because Junior Bake Off is hilarious. Lets me rest my eyes for a bit and gets me moving, at least a little bit away from my desk. So I return to my desk around 3:30 to tie up the day's loose ends. Usually I will sort and answer emails at this point, as well as look through my daily sites, such as those for the weather and personal banking, that kind of thing. I keep several different email accounts, which allows me to sort my emails into categories: business stuff, social media stuff, and subscriptions/shopping stuff. I don't let myself look at the subscriptions shopping one until last, since it can see me opening a dozen tabs I might want to look at and explore. Sometimes I will use this last bit of the afternoon to work on projects, but I also let myself use this time for educational purposes. If there's a YouTube video I want to watch, a course I've purchased, or just an article I want to study, this is when I work on it. I quit the computer at 5:30, eat supper, then usually spend 30 to 40 minutes catching up on other chores like laundry, house cleaning. And then it's finally time to collapse on the couch on my infrared mat again for an hour and a half or so to watch TV. I admit it, kind of a Jeopardy nerd. Before starting my evening routine. I usually let myself have a tiny bit of phone time first, usually just browsing online shopping that I might not have had time to really do or enjoy earlier. But my phone is off by 8:20 p.m. And then I put on my heavy-duty blue light glasses and I don't look at another screen for the rest of the night. So I try to journal every night. Now, I've journaled sporadically throughout my life before completely falling off the wagon for a few years when I was going through a tough time. But then, toward the end of that rough patch, I started writing at least a page every day. And I believe it is a practice I will continue throughout my life. Not only is it cathartic and brain clearing in the moment, but I have found so much support and context for my own process by being able to look back through old journals and see where my head was at during certain challenges and decisions. I make it a daily point to read the journal entry from 1 year previous. And it is often so enlightening and comforting and sometimes humbling to see how I have changed or not changed in regard to particular struggles or goals. Now, during the summer months, I get to do one of my favorite things ever. And that is walk outside with no light but the moon and the stars, and no company except the trees talking to the night birds. At the house I lived in previously, I got to walk in a centuries-old graveyard. Yeah. This year, I bought myself a pair of leather earthing shoes so I can get the added benefit of grounding out the day's electricity while strolling. And now it's nearing 9:30 p.m. and I'm pretty zonked. I end my day reading fiction and try to be in bed by 10:30. A little earlier would probably be better, but the books are just too good, you know? All right, so there is my day in the life. Now, obviously, this is my ideal routine with no interruptions from outside sources or appointments or shopping trips, etc. It's a good day. It's a day I'm always happy to wake up to and always feel satisfied at the end of. So I hope that this little peek into my life right now was interesting and that perhaps you picked up one or two ideas that feel inspiring for your life as well. And I hope you'll stop by the site and talk to me about this. What does your daily routine look like? If you'd like to be part of the Word Player community over on my site and join in the conversation on this subject, be sure to stop by the website at helpingwritersbecomeauthors.com. You can always find a transcript of the most recent podcast and add your voice to the discussion by visiting the first post on the site's homepage. And don't forget that if you're looking for an older post, you can always find those by putting the podcast title in the search field at the top of the right-hand column. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Amazon Music, or whatever your favorite podcast platform may be. And if you'd like to do something to support helping writers become authors, it always means a ton if you're able to leave just a quick rating or review on your site of choice. Also, many thanks to those who support my work on Patreon. Your patronage helps make helping writers become authors and its many resources available to writers everywhere. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can find out more at patreon.com/kmweiland. Thank you so much for listening to the Helping Writers Become Authors podcast, and be sure to check back again next week.